You're on CYInterview.
I'm Chris Yandeck, featured columnist Jay Bilstein is with me today on CYInterview. We welcome back show business legend, impressionist Rich Little. He is back performing weekly at the Tropicana Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip, Thursday through Sunday at 6:30. Rich, thanks for being back with us on CYInterview. How are you?
I'm fine, doing well. I'm glad to be back at work.
I'm glad to hear that. So being back since November, what has it been like to perform in front of a live audience again at the Tropicana?
Well, it's great for me because a lot of entertainers aren't working. And I think the reason that I'm working right now, I'm the only headliner in Vegas performing at the moment, is because I have a smaller room and we don't draw that many people, and they're spaced, and they're wearing masks. So I'm not playing to a huge audience, but they're certainly receptive because they're glad to, get out and be entertained again after such a long time of sitting in their home. So I'm very privileged to be working.
Oh, I can understand that. So, speaking of that, currently on the Las Vegas Strip and in the Las Vegas entertainment scene in general, there's probably about a dozen or so live performances currently taking place. Being someone who has performed in Las Vegas over numerous decades, does the lack of entertainment offerings feel like an earlier era in the Las Vegas history, maybe the 1970s or the 1980s, for example, with less things and less options of things to see?
Yeah, well, there's not as many live performances anymore. I mean, singular performances, one person. There's a lot of variety shows and a lot of extravaganzas and things like Legends in Concert and stuff like that. So there's not too many single performers performing anymore like there used to be.
Oh, absolutely. So taking it back for one moment in Las Vegas history, you and many of the great performers of our time, from the Rat Pack to Ella Fitzgerald to Nat King Cole, performed at the famous Copa Room at the then Sands Hotel and Casino. What are your memories of performing at the Copa Room?
Oh, that was a great room to perform in because it was very intimate and the audience surrounded you. And it was almost like working in the round. And it was one of the great comedy rooms of all time. Of course, that's where the Rat Pack performed, and many great performers performed at the Sands. I started at the Sands opening for Jack Jones in about 1964, 65. And that was my first performance in Vegas at the Sands. Great room, great room. Sorry to see it go. I really was.
Jay?
But, Vegas changes, goes through different cycles, so, it's not like it used to be, but, it's still a great place to perform because, people come from all over the world to come to Las Vegas, but at the moment they're not, but they will be again, so it's just a momentary thing with us. We have to get through this pandemic and get back to normal, and I think we will eventually,
Okay.
Rich, I absolutely just can't help myself, so I'm going to have to say, the 9 most dangerous words in the English language, or Rich Little is back with us again on CYInterview. Rich, what has it been like to perform during the pandemic?
Well, as I said, it's different because people are wearing masks, so it's hard to hear them laughing, and they're so far away. I have to be 25 feet from the first person, so it's like performing with a dance hall in front of you, which I used to do many years ago. So it's kind of weird because they're all way back and not that many people, but they certainly are responsive, and even with masks on, they're still laughing and having a good time, and that's what I want to do, is to have them forget their problems and laugh again, and you know, and so it's great for me. I'm very privileged to be working again.
That's some really wild and wacky stuff, Rich. Let me ask you something. I mean, you are so famous for certain impersonation. I mean, so many really, but I mean, you're Reagan, you're Johnny Carson, you're Jimmy Stewart. Three that hop to mind that are absolutely iconic. Do you have a basket of new ones? Do you have a Joe Biden? Do you have a Donald Trump? What's new? What have you know, there are some, I would argue that a lot of people today don't imitate certain people. They copy how Rich Little imitated them. I mean, I grew up watching you, so I don't imitate, you know, I don't do a job like you, of course. I don't imitate Ronald Reagan. I imitate my best attempt at how Rich Little did it. Those are iconic. Is there something new? Is something new in the basket? Some new targets you have?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing Donald Trump. You know, I'm still doing him. Do you remember him?
You know, his name rings a bell.
Yeah. I'm doing him. I'm doing Joe Biden, and getting a great reaction on Biden.
Could we have a little taste? Could we have a little taste?
Well, the thing that goes over well with Biden is his walk. He's got a very distinctive walk, and when I do the walk, that gets a huge laugh.
Got you.
And then I take out my mask and hang it on my ear, and I look out in the audience and do the arm movements that he does, you know, when he says, "Hey man, you chumps out there! I wanted to be president in the worst way. Mission accomplished."
Rich Little.
And then I do the walk off.
What about Donald Trump? What about Donald Trump? Is Trump more a voice or is Trump more a posture? How do you go about Trump?
Well, Trump has always been an impression that people do that's visual. You know, Alec Baldwin does him. I don't think he does it that well, but he looks like him. You know, when you put the, I was going to say candy floss on their heads, their orange candy floss on the head, and paint their face red, you know, right away you're doing a pretty good Trump. So the voice doesn't have to be that great, you know. I've never heard anybody really do it that well. It's kind of a tough voice to do because, you know, when Donald Trump was talking one-on-one, it was a different sound. But when he was at a rally or talking to a huge crowd, it was an entirely different voice. So there's two voices when you do Donald Trump, you know. But I do a joke that's kind of funny. I go, you know, I made a mistake. I should have put Joe Biden's picture on a U.S. postal stamp. Then I could have licked him.
You know what's interesting? You keep the tradition alive of doing humor that touches upon our political figures. I think in much the same vein that Bob Hope did, without being downright nasty. It's got an edge, but it's not. It's still mannerly. Would you agree or disagree? I mean,
No, I agree with that. You know, it's interesting. I'm getting a lot of younger people now coming to the show. You know, I guess they feel they're a little more healthy. And a lot of the young people that come and see my show have no idea who I'm impersonating. But they're still laughing because they laugh at the jokes, okay? That joke I just did with Trump, they would laugh at the joke, you know. I mean, they would know who he was, but they don't know who Ronald Reagan is. They don't know who John Wayne is. They don't know who Dean Martin is or Jimmy Stewart. So they're laughing at the humor. And, you know, I had a young person come up to me the other day and said, I enjoyed your show. You're very funny, but I kept wondering why you kept changing your voice. Another young person said to me in the lobby just last night, he said, I like your impressions, and I liked the drunk that you did. That was very funny when you did the drunk. And I said, the drunk? And I suddenly realized he's talking about Dean Martin. He doesn't know who Dean is, but he thought he was a drunk.
He didn't know who Dean Martin was, did he, Pally? That's a little bit frightening. I don't know. I mean, it's a different time. You know, I never got to ask you the last time you were on. When you do somebody like Jimmy Stewart, I know I've attempted to do you doing Jimmy Stewart and Jimmy Stewart, and then afterwards you start talking and stuttering. I mean, does that happen to you? Do you ever get stuck? You ever start saying, I'm Rich Little, what's my real voice? Or do you ever kind of get stuck doing someone?
Well, I've made mistakes over the years. I mean, years ago, I did a whole routine on Spiro Agnew. Do you remember Spiro Agnew?
Of course I do. A famous line, the nabobs of negativity, Nixon's vice president.
Yeah. Well, I did a whole sketch on him, and he was Nixon's vice president, Spiro Agnew. But I when I was doing him, I wasn't concentrating, and I did Gerald Ford's voice, thinking I was doing Spiro Agnew. And guess what? The audience didn't know the difference.
Yeah, well,
they still laughed, and I thought to myself later, I'm doing the wrong impression.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Somehow, I never thought about it back at the time. That's almost 50 years ago. Spiro Agnew sounds like a brand of gum, like a breath-freshening gum. Yeah, have a cool, refreshing stick of Spiro Agnew,
Do you know that my Spiro Agnew impression was Jack Benny's favorite?
Jack Benny.
I went on the show. Every time I went on a show with Jack Benny, he kept saying, do Spiro. I love your Spiro Agnew. And then I would do it, and he would just beam. So I guess they were friends, I remember a speech I used to do as Spiro. Let me give you a little background on myself and clarify the discrepancies promulgated by those who close their eyes to the spirit of national masochism encouraged by an effete corps of impudent snobs.
But you know what? The verbiage also is just perfect. The verbiage. But I guess you work on every level, right? Movement, facial expression, tonality, voice, cadence, word selection. But then again, isn't it possible that, at least for those who know, when you cue up a specific word, again, I don't know if it works anymore, but I know, back in the day, you could, with Reagan, just say, well, and all of a sudden, everybody from that one word, with your tonality, with your posture, we just accepted it was Ronald Reagan. Or there's some people who are easier to do because there's just some kind of tagline, like I remember Richard Nixon, right? People have got to know their president's not a crook. I mean, I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's bad. But when people who were around back then hear it because he said that, it's kind of easy to get them to buy in. Or some characters or some people that you do impersonations of imitations, is it easier to get buy-in because of kind of a tag phrase or a specific posture?
Oh, yeah. That's the way you start doing an impression. You take a well-known phrase of theirs, and you do that, and then you go on from there. But, when you do Clint Eastwood, you've got to do, go ahead, make my day, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back, you be Beethoven, And you be Mozart, you be Beethoven, and I'll be Bach.
That's yeah, but exactly. I mean, what you're doing is you're kind of, I guess you're creating a handhold or a hook that immediately gets people to buy in because you're kind of queuing them up. If I think of, Muhammad Ali, right? Oh, greatest of all time. That's a kind of Muhammad Ali tagline. So I don't know if the accuracy has to come with it. You know what I've never heard you do? Did you ever do a Christopher Walken? For some reason, so many people have done Christopher Walken.
Yeah, a lot of people do Christopher Walken. It's not one of my best, and but I know a lot of people that do them. But it's interesting. If I did Christopher Walken, say, in my act, which I don't, a lot of people wouldn't get it. It's one of those specialized voices. You have to know who he is, and it's like doing William Dafoe. Well, they'd say who, and he's only made about 60 movies, but there are certain actors that don't, the audience doesn't instantly recognize, and that's important for me. When you do somebody, like Howard Cosell, or you do Dr. Phil, or somebody like that, or Andy Rooney, they immediately get the voice, But Christopher Walken is kind of a specialized impression.
Yeah, I think also that Andy Rooney and Howard Cosell over time became caricatures of themselves, right? I mean, Howard Cosell's way of speaking was so Howard Cosell, speaking of sports, right? The cadence was so different. Or does that make it easier?
Oh, yeah. One time he said to me, because we were friends, he said to me, Rich, if you could talk in my voice 24 hours a day, there's no degree to greatness you could not obtain in the world of show business.
That sounds like Howard Cosell. Rest in peace. Speaking of rest in peace, Larry King. I can't recall. I can recall you being on so many shows over the years. One of my favorite performance of you were on Hawaii 5-0 many years ago.
Yeah.
I want to say you were playing a villain, right? You weren't.
I was.
Yeah, you weren't the good guy. You were the bad guy. But were you on Larry King many times?
I did Larry King one time, and I never did it again. And I don't know. He wasn't a huge fan of mine, so but he was great. He was a great interviewer. He was a great listener, and it's amazing, isn't it, how we're losing so many people now. I'm afraid to look at the obituary column every morning in case I see my name.
Yeah, or either that, or look in the mirror and suddenly go, "Wait a minute, where nobody's here."
Who's that?
I don't know. I start looking in the mirror now, and I keep seeing my grandfather. I don't know what to make of it. He shuffled off this mortal coil years ago. I don't know what on earth is going on. But talk to me about one of my favorite programs, Hawaii 5-0. You were talking about your turn as a villain.
Yeah, well, I was killing people as James Cagney, and then there was a great scene at the end where I'm up on this oil, what do they call it, where James Cagney was in White Heat, this big oil tank, and I'm up there.
Right.
And, of course, they didn't have it explode because that would be too expensive, but it was a great episode to do, and Jack Lord directed that episode that I did. He was a very interesting man. He had a great sense of humor, Jack Lord. He was the only man I ever met who was fair and never moved on a dead run. He was always fussing with his hair, and I remember as a director, we were doing a scene, and he called me over to the side and said, "Rich, you're folding your arms during the scene. I said, yeah. Why were you doing that? And I said, well, and I was stuck for an answer. So I said, well, I was reading in a magazine that people that are nervous tend to fold their arms. And seeing I'm the killer in the episode, that's why I'm folding my arms, which I kind of made up. And he said, oh, yeah, I read that article too. Keep folding your arms.
He read the article in the imaginary magazine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. That may be true. I don't know. I don't know whether you fold your arms whether you're nervous or not. I kind of made that up, but maybe it's true. I don't know. But that
was to me. I mean, I remember that specific episode. You were absolutely tremendous in that. It's it was a great stretch for me. I also did Policewoman with Angie Dickinson. I remember that too, and Earl Holliman, no?
Yeah. It's, when you've got a squeaky clean image, I guess I did at the time. But when you play a murderer, it's even more menacing, And it went over well. My mother never watched it. She said, I will not watch my son be a murderer. But I said, Mom, it's called acting,
Yeah, I think what you say. I think what you say is absolutely true. I remember you being extraordinarily convincing on Hawaii Five-0. And what was so interesting about that is, I perceived, everybody I knew perceived as just, Rich Little is a really good guy. And so to see Rich Little portray a murderer, was like, whoa, what is that? But I'll conclude and I'll throw it back to Chris and I'll say, Rich, you come on to CYInterview and you don't even think to call me God interviewer, but you come to Las Vegas and you never needed a friend like me. But always wonderful to have you on, Rich. Chris?
That was a great Walter Brennan. That was wonderful.
Walter Brennan? I was doing I was doing a take from Hello, Dolly. You know what? Actually, I did an impersonation. I think Ruta Lee said that to me. I think she said, that's a great Walter Brennan. I said, I'm doing Alex Trebek.
Yeah, I love Ruta Lee. She's one of my favorite people.
Yeah, she is great. She comes on with us with frequency.
Yeah, she's one of the greats. Alex Trebek, that was very sad we lost him.
Indeed. Good man. Good man.
Wow. Good man, and fought that battle for so long, which doesn't really succeed. That's a bad form of cancer. So we're all lucky to be well. It's so funny. When I was a kid, I wanted to be the Lone Ranger, and now the whole world is. Very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, the thing is they've got to move that mask a little down from the eyes to the mouth and cover the holes. I don't know what some people are thinking though, Rich. Some people think those masks are chin diapers. I don't know how they think that's going to work.
Isn't it amazing when you were a kid? Would you ever dream that someday the whole world would be wearing a cloth mask?
Not in a million years. Not in a million years.
Not in a million years. Yeah, so it's a strange time. It really is. It's kind of weird when you think of it, isn't it?
It is indeed.
And a lot of the girly shows, now there's a couple going in Vegas, but they're practically nude, but they're wearing a mask, so it's kind of funny.
They pulled up this small piece of cloth from down below top on the mouth, and so there you go. They already had that little. They already had that little triangle all set up, and said, "Hey, pull it up," and there you have it. But the great, we can't call you Rich Little. We have to call you the great Rich Little, because you absolutely are the great Rich Little. It's just always such a pleasure to have you on. You're one of the true greats, one of the true entertainment. I feel now like
thank you, Chris.
I'm Jay. He's Chris. Say hello, Chris.
Hi, Rich.
Okay.
Who was it? What's his name? Oh my God, Don Rickles, who would just rip everybody to shreds, and then afterwards, Don Rickles, of course, would say, "You're the greatest. God bless you. You're incredible." He was supposed to be a very nice man, by the way. I'm sure you know that.
He was a very nice man. I loved it when he went after me. I felt now I had arrived because he used to do numbers on me. We did the Dean Martin roast. He did a lot of them, and I think I did more than anybody. I did 24, but I remember Don was, he was fun. He used to say to me, "Rich, why don't you put your teeth in backwards and bite yourself to death?" You're a pain in the ass. If you ever found out who you are, you probably want to be somebody else.
My favorite one was when Reagan was on one of the roasts, and he told him, he said, "You give him a cookie, he goes away." That was one of the great lines. Give him a cookie, he goes away.
Give him a cookie and he goes away.
That's right. That's right.
He'd look out at a couple in the audience and say, "Is this your wife or are you on a business trip?" It's funny. A lot of those people on those roasts weren't there. When John Wayne did a cute bit once, I use it in my act, where he said, "You thought I was John Wayne, but I'm really Rich Little," which was kind of a compliment. And but I never saw him. And Reagan did a lot of roasts, but I never saw him either. They put them in later and make it look like they were part of the roast. It was amazing. That show was so great in editing. It was some incredible editing.
It was a tremendous show. Did you ever do any inaugurations, Rich?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did both Ronald Reagan inaugurations. Yeah.
Yeah, I try not to watch those.
And it was so funny because Reagan had such bad hearing, that I would say something and he would turn to Nancy and say, What did he say? And then Nancy would tell him, and then he'd start laughing. So he was always laughing behind or after the joke, And one time he said to me, "Rich, you do me better than I do. And as a matter of fact, you do me so good. You do me so good. I put in my will that when I pass away, they should bury you."
It's thank God they didn't. That's some funny stuff.
Yeah, that's
Rich Little. Rich Little. Chris?
Rich, in closing,
Jay.
do you?
Yeah, you're very welcome. I'd love to introduce you as Ed Sullivan would after our tribute to the Maori fire eaters and the Beatles. Rich Little. All right,
the first time I went on the Ed Sullivan show, Ed screwed everything up. I mean, he was one sandwich short of a picnic, that guy. But he introduced me the first time I did the show as Little Richard. And now we're going to bring on our show tonight a great comic, Little Richard. You believe that? I was introduced as Little Richard, and I came out, and he suddenly realized what he did when I didn't go into Tutti Frutti or Good Golly Miss Molly. He realized that he'd goofed, Or
wop baba loo bop wop bam boom, yeah.
Yeah, and then he came to me in the dressing room when the show was over, and he said, "I'm sorry they screwed it up because the name was written wrong on the cue card. So I'm sorry, Tiny. I really am." No, it's not Tiny. It's not Tiny Little. It's Rich Little, Ed. You know who you are. I said, "Yes, I do." He was a strange man. Ed
Great
Sullivan.
stuff.
God,
Great
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah,
Great.
the wheel was spinning, but the rodent was dead,
Oh, God. Okay, you work in a very small room right now, but I promise you're killing. Chris?
Rich, what did you do all of those months that you weren't performing here in Las Vegas? What was that like for you, not to be performing every week?
That was pretty tough, you know. You're pretty locked down, you know, except when you go to the store occasionally, wear your mask, keep away from people. I mean, it's still bad for a lot of entertainers in Vegas because they're not working. I feel really bad about the people on Broadway. That must be devastating. All those wonderful actors on Broadway that are not working at all. You know, they're probably washing dishes or parking cars, but I mean, all that talent is not being used, and you know, that's and same thing in Vegas. You know, except for me and a couple other people, it's pretty quiet here.
Do you
the
have
hotels are about 20% occupied? Yeah.
Do you have any words of hope for the entertainment community as a whole, for the people who are not working right now?
Oh yeah, I think once the you know the COVID is pretty well over, hopefully by next year, I think things will get back to normal again. I really do.
Oh, I think
think people will come to Vegas more than ever.
Oh, I agree with I agree with that.
Yeah, they want to be entertained. You know, they're sick of sitting home and looking out the window and wondering what happened to the world. You know, so I think it'll come back big time. Let's hope so.
And hopefully they'll come see Rich Little at the Tropicana Hotel and Casino, which is currently playing Thursday through Sunday at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah, God, that'd be great. Get more than 30 people. That'd be wonderful. Isn't it? You know, it's interesting. In the old days, when you played Vegas, if you didn't draw a big crowd, the management was not happy. Today, if you do draw a big crowd, the management is unhappy.
Well, there you go. You live long enough, you see everything.
Yeah, they don't want many people, you know, and they have to be all spaced and wear their masks. And I'm not wearing a mask on stage, but I have to be 25 feet from the first person in front of me.
Well, I'm sure, Rich, a lot of spacey people come in from California.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they come in from California. There's still a lot of people that are afraid to go out, but we're slowly getting more people every night. So it's picking up. So it's getting better, you know.
So go ahead.
I'm doing a lot of jokes on political jokes now. You know, I'm like I said last night. I said Joe Biden is really a very compassionate person. Apparently, he sent limos down to the border to pick up illegal aliens. And I said, he's only been in the White House for 3 days, but he's already decorated the basement. You know? No more Oval Office for Joe Biden's Ovaltine. You know? And Kamala Harris in the morning. Kamala Harris is very nice, a nice lady. Every morning when she sees Joe Biden, she says, "Oh, how are you feeling?"
I wonder how many people listen and say, "What is Ovaltine?"
Yeah, they probably do. Yeah.
Mm.
Do they sell Ovaltine anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? If I recall, I was in the mood for Ovaltine back in 1972, and I gave a person a pair of my shoes that I was wearing, so I could, in exchange for a little bit of money, so I could buy a cup of Ovaltine. It was a glass, not a cup, I guess. You know, you could drink it hot or cold.
Yeah, well, my audience would know what Ovaltine is. Yeah, not the young people. They don't even know Dean Martin, but they wouldn't know Ovaltine at all. They think he was a disc jockey from Omaha. You know?
Yeah, well, I would think that you're
Charlie over to Ovaltine.
Yeah, well, listen, you've got Charlie Sheen now and Martin Sheen advertising God knows what. You get people of a certain age range, and they're advertising diabetes supplies and advertising cheap ways to get medicine and reverse mortgages.
Right.
So yeah, those folks would know Ovaltine.
You know what I'm doing now, and it gets a big reaction. I'm doing William Devane, who does the Roslyn Capital commercial, and I'm doing My Pillow Guy, and that gets a big reaction. The My Pillow is very funny because everybody sees that commercial every 10 minutes. This is Mike Lindell of My Pillow. I guarantee you, it'll be the most comfortable pillow you've ever owned. You can jump on it. You can spit on it. You can tinkle on it. It's only grown in the Arctic between the Falkland Islands and the La Brea tar pits. And they stuff it with whale bone. When I get my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I'm unconscious. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's hilarious. That is... Now you're killing me. I'm not going to die of COVID. I'm going to die of Rich Little. You're going to make me laugh to death. I saw the My Pillow commercial. It turned me off the pillow so much I use a phone book now.
Yeah. Well, he's made a lot of money, that guy. Holy cow.
Never underestimate the public's ability to buy pillows, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. He stuffed all his money in a pillowcase. That's why it's so fluffy. And then I do William Devane, I do William Devane, too. I buy my gold at Roslyn Capital every chance I get.
Yeah, well.
Roslyn Capital.
At least he doesn't need it for his teeth.
Great.
Commercials, well, because, again, they have that exaggeration facet to them, right? I mean, they do something that's exaggerated to hold the attention of the public.
Exactly. Yeah. So I do Dr. Phil, and I do, I do some new people, but then, I'm always adding some new people to my act and trying to keep it a little fresh, so that people don't wander out of the show and say, I wonder what he's doing,
How's Dr. Phil working for you?
Dr. Phil, I know that you know that I know. And if you knew that, then we both would know if we knew it all when we knew it,
That is good. That is really good. I don't remember also. Did you do Clinton?
Oh yeah, I do Bill Clinton. Yeah, Bill Clinton. Yeah, it's an easy voice to do because you just got to get, a gravelly throat. Really, he always talks like that when he talked. I think he had a frog in his throat. I think it was Kermit the Frog. But
Kermit the Frog.
Kermit, I do Kermit the Frog. I end my show every night by doing Kermit the Frog and Louis Armstrong singing "Wonderful World." Gets a big reaction. It's a great combination. Kermit
I'm
the
sure
Frog
it is.
and Louis Armstrong. Yeah,
I'm sure it is.
So I end my show by doing that.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, if you're listening and you're coming to Vegas, come and see me.
Yeah, you should. Anybody listening, anybody in the sound of Rich Little's voice should go see Rich Little.
So
wear your mask and you'll be quite safe.
And throw money.
And throw money, yeah. Well, anyway.
So for show business legend Rich Little, performing currently at the Tropicana Hotel and Casino, featured columnist Jay Billstein, and CYInterview, I'm Krishinik.